with Rounder.
Yeah.
And that was like back in March of '88.
Right. I wonder if Murphy Henry would have some feelings about that, if she'd ever. I don't know. People don't tend to think of things in terms of labels. I'm learning pretty quickly as I.
Yeah, it's true. I mean,
people. I don't know what record that. I don't know what label that was on.
Yeah, I can barely tell you titles of albums, let alone label.
Yeah.
But if I think about it, and the only reason this is real clear to me right now is I just came back from IBMA, and Rounder it was essentially a Rounder showcase of women in bluegrass, where they had Lynn on stage and Clara Lynch and Missy Raines, who was part of Clara Lynch at one point. Who else was up there? Laurie Lewis,
right?
Stevens sisters, and I think someone else whose name is escaping me now. But it was all women in bluegrass, and I think they were all Rounder. And then they brought Hazel up.
And it's completely possible that Ken's remarks to me along those lines were made simply because he had it on his mind because of the organization of that showcase,
right?
Of which I was unaware. So,
well, it's not a touring band because I asked.
Yeah.
And it's not meant to be a touring band, and I don't even want to go into the politics of it because I don't know, but I get the feeling there was some politics going on because, this is an aside and off the record, so to speak. I don't care if you tape it, but it's off the record.
I understand.
Were you at IBMA or have you been?
I was not, no.
Okay, well, they have these showcases, which are supposed to be set up so artists can be seen by promoters to book them.
Right, and I've seen these in other contexts.
Exactly.
At conferences, yeah.
And I asked, well, is this on tour? Because why is it showcasing?
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody there knew or realized, in fact, I'm going to get my directory out as we're speaking and see how it was listed, that it was not available for booking.
Right.
So I'm like, well, why the hell was it up there taking a space away from others who need a booking? I'm looking at it now, and sure enough, it's listed in the regular showcase act. It's the Stevens sisters, Laurie Lewis, Rhonda Vincent, Claire Lynch, Lynn Morris, Missy Raines. And, see, this to me is political. I'll read this to you, okay?
Go ahead.
The extremely talented, award-winning singers and instrumentalists listed above certainly need no introduction to bluegrass audiences. Here's the crux of it now, Michael. The one thing these women all have in common is that they currently have a new album or soon-to-be-released recording on the Rounder Records label. Don't miss this unique combination of talent and exciting material presented in tonight's set. Many in the industry perceive the 1990s as the decade of women in bluegrass. Here are 7 good reasons why.
Okay.
Now, I'm sorry. As someone who's a member of IBMA, I'm going to be speaking out about that because I have no problem with it if they portrayed it as entertainment for us, not a showcase.
Sure, it's a promo.
Yeah,
that's what it is. It's a label promo.
Exactly. So, so I'm a little. I knew there was something in the back of my mind about that to begin with. Before you and I even spoke, but that just confirmed it. Now that
and Rounder probably, heaves a lot of weight at IBMA.
Well, they probably sponsored that evening's activities too.
Sure.
Yeah. Sponsors. And that's fine, but as an IBMA member, of course, I have my own political thing there where, hey, then don't tell me it's a showcase.
Right.
But they are certainly very important. But Sugar Hill has had some women in there. For a while, they had the, I can't think of their name, Sweethearts of the Rodeo. I believe, no, that was Flying Fish. I think Laurie Lewis was originally Flying Fish, I believe. And she's Rounder now.
Yeah.
They've all had women in there, but Rounder certainly has had some of the seminal women. I mean, Hazel just is, and they've had, of course, Alison Krauss all along.
Right. Let me get back. Do you remember the Bluegrass Album Band releases in 1980? Did they have any particular impact? Were they noticed as?
I think they were, but again, here were some. I think they were noticed in the fact that they were some of the heavyweights of bluegrass, both in the tradition as well as outside the tradition, coming together, and I think that's what made it important.
Okay.
It wasn't anything so new and different in my opinion.
Okay.
But it was just some very, very fine artists.
Okay.
Coming together.
How about the Johnson Mountain Boys, who we spoke of? Was there any excitement about them musically or their appearance at the time they did?
Oh yeah.
And why so? Why don't you articulate that for me a little bit, if you could?
I think it's because what happened is that through the era of progressive bluegrass coming to form, people were, you had that camp of traditionalists who were like, lamenting the fact, well, what are they doing to our music, blah, blah, blah. And here comes along the Johnson Mountain Boys, dressed the part, playing the part, singing the part with the very tight vocals, the very tight stage presence where, boom, 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 one song after the other. Very showmanship. I mean, extraordinary showmanship, extraordinary instrumentalists and vocalists and vocal harmonizing, and again, dressed the part too.
Yeah.
And I think they were, I think, leaders in kind of going back to the roots movement in a sense, which is another little, aside in the late 90s now, is going back to roots. It took us back to our roots in another way.
I was going to say, now, was there some kind of clamor underground or above ground for that we've gotten too far away from the roots at about the time they surfaced, which now goes back into the...
I don't think that was it. I think people just really appreciated a young group that could do Bill Monroe.
It sounds like, though, that to appreciate them in that way, to get that much excitement, there has to be, even if you don't notice it, like it's not there. And then when you see it, you say, my God, I haven't seen this in so long. Is that
probably.
Kind of... Yeah.
I think probably.
Yeah.
I couldn't give you a definitive answer because I don't think there is one.
Sure.
But
sure.
I think people, okay, first off, you're talking to someone who's a professional in the music, so I'm going to have a very different opinion than a fan.
Right.
Obviously. And for me, I look at a group, and they have to be exceptional to get my attention. I can sit there and, just as we were speaking about IBMA, I can sit there and look at showcase after showcase. I would say 80% of them I will walk out of the room on because they all sound alike. Right. Even if they don't sound alike to each other, they all sound alike.
Yeah.
There's nothing new there, nothing exciting. They don't have stage presence. And I think one of the biggest things lacking today is stage presence. People don't know how to be showmen.
Right.
And the Johnson Mountain Boys certainly did.
Yeah.
And certainly there are other groups that do too, but they really were extraordinary.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
What can I say? They didn't work.
Ken's real excited now about Longview. Is there any, which is kind of something he put together. I don't know if you're, have they had any impact beyond, everybody knows them already?
Well, what's happening is, package deals have become very popular with all the labels.
I see.
Especially touring acts.
Okay.
And I think part of what it is, it's to make money, obviously.
Yeah.
Part of it is that it puts a new spin for marketing. That, oh, wow, these superstars are picking together, go see them, and they're great, but how do I put this? They're very, very good, and I think it's just simply filling the void of where bookings for the individual artists are coming through.
Okay.
That's what I think is happening personally, but I'm not knocking it. I don't mean to be knocking Longview or any other similar group because they serve their purpose and they're getting us noticed in bluegrass music. But it makes me stop and think, as someone inside the music, oh, aren't these groups getting enough work? They have to supplement it with this. Because that's one way of looking at it.
Each of those people was a recording artist. Or I think just about, I think every one of them has their own.
They have their own group or other groups. But the thing that happens, like, look at the Johnson Mountain Boys. Now, Dudley Connell performs in many different groups.
Right.
I don't even know which group he's in the most right now. Frankly, I lose track of these things. I'm terrible at keeping up with who's in what band anymore.
Right.
But it's an unfortunate aspect of the music that such organizations as IBMA is trying to fight, that we have to be multifaceted to make a living. I myself am multifaceted. You looked at my website.
Sure.
The same thing happens with a musician.
When you say IBMA is trying to fight it, you mean by bringing bluegrass to greater public prominence?
Right. We're trying to put professionalism into the music and thereby bring it into more commercial appeal without bastardizing it.
Right.
When I say commercial, to just simply make it more viable.
Sure.
Viable for the artists and the people behind the scenes to make a living. And that's one of the main missions of IBMA.
Well, let me follow that, because I want to then, turning to your the email response you sent me, let's take that. You say, and I'm reading, I have it up now. I'm highly opinionated about taking traditional music into a viable commercial marketplace. So, speak.
I was part of a panel 2 years ago at IBMA on this.
Okay.
And it's my biggest gripe that most, and I do mean most, bluegrass people, be it the record company mucky mucks or the artists, from the most unknown artists to some of the biggest. Now, there are, of course, exceptions to the rule, but most of them do not put their money where their mouth is. They do not invest in themselves to come up, and of course my biggest bugaboo is publicity materials, because it's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't meant to sound like I'm crying because I don't get enough business or something. Well, that's
I understand.
fine. I do other things. I make a living. But I feel people do not understand or are resistant to understanding that if they spend $500 to have a press kit created that could, look so much more on par with, what is it, Megadeth or whatever those metal bands are,
Uh-huh.
it does open eyes.
Uh-huh.
Excuse me, 1 second. I do talk too much no matter what. People don't understand you have to compete in a very commercial market. To do that, you have to invest in yourself. I realize that it's a vicious circle where we don't have the funds, but sometimes you just got to go that extra mile to get the funds.
Right.
And I feel that's the biggest stumbling block right now is artists don't understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Or they don't want to understand it, or they just are being penny wise and pound foolish. They don't look to other markets to make their music more viable, and I'm not saying change their music, I'm saying take their music to other markets.
Right.
But of course, to do that, one has to open one's own doors.
Right.
It doesn't mean changing the music, it means learning how to approach and appeal to another market, be it through promo materials, through a different marketing approach in your press releases or your press kit to promoters, to approaching non-bluegrass festivals, non-bluegrass events.
Right.
I could literally go on for 2 hours and say, people just don't get it. And we've done panels on this, and I want you to know, every time I've done panels or been in a meeting where this has come up, everyone rushes over to get my brochure, and I have to use myself as an example because I'm one of the few doing this in the business.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone rushes over, they get my brochure, they see my rates, I don't get calls.
Yeah, sure. And
it's really a sad statement.
Yeah.
And we just haven't reached out enough to educate our own. And can you excuse me 1 second while I kill this spider crawling down the web on Facebook? But I don't like them. Hang on 1 second. Let me find something I don't need. Get rid of it. Oh, the country. We actually had our first, where'd he go? Is he on me? We had our first deer in the front yard a couple of nights ago.
Really? Is this a new place? New residence?
No.
Oh.
I'm right behind Rutgers University.
Oh,
I'm in suburbia here, but first time ever, my husband called me from the driveway on the cell phone and said, "You'll never guess what's standing under our crabapple tree." And I ran out there barefoot in the rain. I was so fascinated. This big old doe was just standing there. But anyhow.
Have you slayed the spider?
I don't know where he went.
Oh, okay, good.
If you hear me scream,
right. Okay, he's gone or he's under your blouse. I don't know.
Yeah, I just hope he didn't land on me. I don't know where he went. Anyhow.
How far do you think you could take that this idea that press kits are going to open some doors? And I don't mean press kits to say, but professionalization. Bluegrass is a commercial music, and I think it's probably easier with bluegrass than say with old timey, the stuff that you hear. And I don't know how much you work with this, but the stuff that you'd read about in the Old Time Herald. Or are you familiar with the band, the Freight Hoppers?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah. Now I don't know.
I actually booked David Bass years ago with his other band. I found David Bass in the subways of New York. That's how I met him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can tell you that, David. Yes, I found him fiddling in the subways of New York.
Okay.
I booked his band at one of my series in New York.
How far can you go with, say, old-timey string bands or things like that? Bluegrass, I think you can go further with bluegrass than it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
But as I say, it's a funny case, and there's a great line which I want to pass on to you. It was said to me by a friend of mine who wanted me to meet Roland White, who I don't know. Roland White, who I don't know and have never met. But he said, "You've got to meet Roland White. You've got to meet Roland White. Roland White was there at the moment when bluegrass became folk music." I said, "That's a wonderful line. I have to remember that." But
that's a good line.
but
your friend is probably very right, because the very first album, and here's a seminal album, but I don't think it's Rounder. I know it's not Rounder. The first album that a very dear friend of mine, who just knows everything there is to know about any form of music in this God's earth, when he found out I went with Pickin' Magazine, he gave me the Kentucky Colonels album, Appalachian Swing.
Right.
And that album is so precious to me.
Yeah.
And Roland's on it, of course.
Yeah.
Clarence. And I do know Roland quite well now for all these years I've been in the music.
Yeah.
And It's really true. But now there's a seminal album in bluegrass.
Interesting. And the point of that, of course, is that bluegrass was always a professional commercial music meant to entertain people. How do you take, do you think the same issues apply when you talk about professionalizing more true living room music? Can you take the fiddle banjo duo out on the road
yes,
somewhere?
No. I mean, again, now you come back to the academic definitions again, because old time is a little closer to tradition than bluegrass, although both are in many ways.
Sure.
But, it's funny, I never thought about bluegrass from that perspective that you just said, because it's right. I mean, Bill Monroe had to earn a living, and that's why he took it out there.
Oh, it was a purely commercial music,
yeah,
and so was.
I never thought of it that way. That's really funny. I just never put it in those terms. But
And
you're right.
and you'll see it in other perspectives. People will do it in blues.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll hold up Muddy Waters as this paragon. Well, Muddy Waters, he took acoustic Delta blues, and he just electrified it. He's sort of brought the tradition a little nudge beforehand, but he's a great traditionalist. And Muddy Waters, when he was alive, gave interviews because he knew nothing of this.
Mm-hmm.
He knew nothing of this. He just said he wanted to make records that teenagers would dance to and would get on the jukeboxes.
Uh-huh. Well, of course, just because you're a traditional artist, and true, the academic definition is you're not meant to make a living from it, but those who do, it doesn't mean they weren't traditional and that they did learn by oral tradition.
Sure. Yeah.
But some of them had to make a living.
Sure.
And they recognized that, or someone recognized it for them, such as like Doc Watson. I mean, he had to make a living, and that's the only reason Doc tours. The only reason.
Right. But
he loves the music, but Doc has told me flat out, if he'd had sight, he probably would have been some type of a carpenter or something like that.
yeah.
I mean, many interviews I've done with Doc.
But
One of which is coming up and sing out any day.
oh, great.
But
you
asked me about old time. Viability. I think it just simply exists again to how it's marketed. Now, here's my big thing is when I mentioned in my email, and it's funny, I'm trying to develop this letter to the editor because a very, very interesting political cartoon popped up locally a couple of days ago, which depicts a banjo player standing there with an all but empty hat, not filled with money, and the New Jersey Symphony Orchestra with an overflowing violin case, filled with bucks.
Mm-hmm.
And the banjo player has a little sign on him that says, maybe I ought to think about being an oboe player. And it's really a slam over the fact that the folk arts aren't getting funded.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's an obvious statement.
Right.
And I'm trying to develop an editorial or a letter to the editor or something to that effect, because it's been something a couple of people have been urging me to write about to some of our, at least, local publications in, commercial media, but it goes to the crux of the matter. What it is, in my opinion, be it bluegrass, old-time, folk, whatever, how do we get it more viable? There are two things that have to happen, and it's not going to happen in our lifetime, but hopefully one day it will. We have to re-educate ourselves as to how we think and talk about and refer to our music and how we present it.
Right.
I'm not saying change the music. Again, I'm going back to that professionalism and to talk and to not, but we just play. We're not in it for the money. Oh, it's just hillbilly music. All the expressions, all the ways we perceive it ourselves has to change. And secondary to that, we have to get the media to stop talking down about us.
Yeah.
Be it in a commercial because they play banjo in some rip-roaring commercial and make it come out that way as, hillbilly music, or because they say something, Or I had the Star Ledger here, which is our major paper in New Jersey. I'll never forget my first or second year with the Folk Festival. They do a preview section in early April of upcoming festival season. And two of the festivals they preview are mine, the New Jersey Folk Festival, and the Apple Farm Music and Arts Festival, which has really evolved into a pop festival. I mean, we're talking, Livingston Taylor and Dar Williams, people like that. Ours is a traditional indigenous folk form festival. After they get done giving a couple of sentences about ours, they kind of did a backhanded slap and say, and if you want to see some real folk music, and they go on to the Apple Farm one.
Mm-hmm.
They basically cut it in two, the commercial versus the non-commercial forms of music.
Yeah.
And gave us a backhanded slap. And I'm so tired of that because I work in the friggin' music and I want to earn a living and I don't want to always just be my husband's tax write-off.
Right.
So So it's my mission in life to do whatever I can to re-educate.
Yeah.
And that's really the crux of what I was referring to in my email.
Right.
Is that I feel those are the two things that have to happen, that indeed we can be viable. I don't know if commercial's the right word, but viable, or maybe commercially viable.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure that it is. Along the, it's one thing to play songs with an ensemble, and another thing to do, 3 hours of reels on a fiddle for a dance.
Mm-hmm.
People can't sit and listen to the latter unless they're dancing.
But they can dance.
They can dance. They can dance. You can't really do it at a festival setting. It's intended to. I don't think you can, at least. Not out in the fields there, and it's 95 degrees. But for how
we have it specified, we have 4 stages, and it's
sure. Okay. Yeah. Right. And people come and go, I suspect. Along the lines we spoke of before. If you want to play out this string about bluegrass being invented kind of as a commercial music, do you know Neil Rosenberg, or at least know of him?
I've met him, and he's quoted me in his book.
Right. Okay. He said, and I don't know if it was in that one of his big books. Let's see, he did Transforming Tradition, and he did the Bluegrass History. But he has said that the reason bluegrass can become more viable than other forms of so-called traditional music is that bluegrass began as stage music. It never was, kitchen music, and so, everything about it, like the showmanship you referred to with respect to the Johnson Mountain Boys, everything about the tradition is we're going to put on a show, we're going to dress, we're going to play with precision, we're going to interact well. It was performance music, and if you're already beaten that hurdle, then then it's just getting it out there to the people that are going to like it. There's a lot of people in this country and around the world. So, right. Well,
I have to agree with Neil, I guess, to a large part of that. It's funny, until you kind of brought this up in this perspective, I had not thought about it that way. Because, of course, bluegrass draws from so many traditions. And again, we're talking traditions, not music for earning a living.
Right.
So it is very intriguing. And I wonder, boy, you got me thinking here. I wonder if these are good points to bring up at IBMA seminars. Well,
Bill Monroe was never anything but a professional commercial musician wanting to earn a living.
Yeah.
Lester Flatt, Earl Scruggs. That's what they were, and that's what they developed. They developed a performance style and sound that could sell.
That's a very good line. You really kind of floored me in a sense that, boy, something to think about. So my mind's going on in other directions as we're speaking here.
Now is Roland White the kind of guy, since you do know him well, is he the kind of guy who could articulate my friend's point that he was there when bluegrass became folk music, or is that, okay, I don't know him at all, and so.
Kind of he can be a shy sort of guy, and kind of quiet. He's originally from Maine and has this very sweet kind of Southern accent now, and he's been living in Nashville for years. He's just the sweetest guy in the whole world, in my opinion. A really good person.
To play off that idea, you've got to understand these issues. You got to have thought about them a little bit.
Well, Roland's certainly been around a long time.
Oh, that quote, by the way, you might even know this. Do you know Randy Pitts?
Yeah.
Okay, Randy is the guy who said that.
Okay.
He said Randy's a good friend of mine from our days in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Yeah.
And do you go to the Folk Alliance conferences at all? Yeah, Randy and I will be rooming in Cleveland. We've roomed at all the ones that we've jointly gone to. We've roomed together.
Oh, yes, we've probably met somewhere along the line. Although I'm going in a new capacity this year, because it says it in my website somewhere, but I was Beppe Gambetta's manager for 10 years.
Okay, yeah, he did say that, right.
Yes, I've always gone as his manager, and I left him after 10 years and retired from artist management.
Well, the first conference I went to, which was the Folk Alliance conference I went to, which was Tucson, we said that I was Randy's roadie. That was my capacity since I had none. He said, yeah, club bookers have roadies in California. Carry this.
That's one of only 2 I've missed, was Tucson and then last year's.
Right.
My husband actually proposed to me at the 1990 Folk Alliance in Philadelphia, one of the very first ones. So.
Oh, that's interesting. I wasn't there. But
I'm one of the originals. But Randy, I can't say I know Randy real well. I know him from when I tried to book him for Beppe and stuff like that.
Right.
I booked Beppe through Randy at Freight and Salvage, and of course now he's moved on with Keith, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'll be in Cleveland. In fact, I got one of the secondary hotels, and I got it cheaper than Folk Alliance advertising.
Oh, really?
I went straight to the friggin' hotel.
That's interesting.
I have a confirmed fact, so I got a room to my knowledge.
Oh, that's great.
And I even got a AAA rate.
Good. All right. Well, I should let you get back to work. It sounds like I'm looking at the Folk Alliance as well, and so maybe we can talk about that. Have you ever been on the board, or?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Maybe we can talk. But you've been going since Philadelphia, huh? Maybe we can talk about that at another time.
I missed Tucson, and I missed last year's, wherever that was, which escapes me, Albuquerque.
Now, were you in Malibu?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
I missed 3. I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah, although there wasn't really that wasn't really a Folk Alliance conference because there was no.
We weren't official till Philly.
Yeah, I mean that was sort of by invitation only for people that the Weissmans knew about.
I couldn't afford to do it.
Is that right?
I worked in folk music.
Right.
Well, it does kind of get me that, if you think about it, most of the quote-unquote bigwigs at Folk Alliance, I mean, most of them have a day job that can pay for all this. It's pretty darn costly to go.
Yeah.
And it's getting harder. But I'll give you one final thought that I'm just now discovering as I'm re-entering the world of full-time freelancing here.
Mm-hmm.
Because, that is what I'm focusing on now, is back to my writing and photography, as well as staying with the Folk Festival. It goes again with the professionalism and putting your money where your mouth is. I am definitely, and I already knew this in my heart, but I'm getting pretty darn slapped in the face by it. The very publications that are very specific to bluegrass and folk music don't pay squat for their articles. Right. And I mean, it's a known fact, but it's for me, it's so blatant. It's well, how am I supposed to earn a living and promote our artists? And the answer is to get the hell out of bluegrass and go elsewhere with my bluegrass article.
Yeah,
but it's
right.
Another example. It's not just the artist, is what I'm saying.
Sure.
It's the whole industry. They've got to understand that we need we need an entire overhaul if we really are going to make it viable. Because we all need to eat.
Sure.
And that's my final note.
Well, now, I've got an email out to Don Kissel. I don't know if he's interested in responding to something like this, but I do have a phone number? Let me see if why don't you just put it...
He doesn't always answer. I know I've got an email out to him for 2 days now, didn't get back, so...
that doesn't bother me. I'm actually troubled by the fact you used to be able to get a letter from somebody, and you'd answer it in 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you send somebody an email, and you're miffed if they haven't answered you in 2 hours or something. And I'm saying the world is gone. And as I become more on the recipient of emails, I'm getting miffed. It's I can't do it. I'm not. That doesn't have my focus yet.
Yeah, I get pretty bent out of shape if I don't get emails back from people, within a reasonable amount of time, because I rely on email now so much.
Right.
But I'll give you his phone number if you want it, though, because he's usually, I think you just may have to make an appointment with him only because he has a very hectic schedule with his writing, because he works for various whatevers. Let me give you his phone number.
Right.
If you don't have it. It's 973-267-1883. And just tell him I gave you his number.
Yeah, and I might wait a little bit longer to see if he responds to the email, which basically...
He's out of town because he didn't respond to me, which is odd.
Okay.
And I'm asking him to come work at my festival, so I know he wants to answer me.
Yeah, I mean, I basically said to him the same thing I said to you. I think I was playing off your email to Ken, so I probably said something different, but kind of the same stuff. Do you know Walt Saunders?
I've only just met him.
Okay, I got it. He wrote the very first review of a Rounder record, and I just kind of wanted to pick his brains since he's been there again for a long, long time about what were seminal records. Since he was reviewing them from the earliest days, he did Rounder number 3. But so he wrote me back a nice note which said, "It sounds like you're looking for, scholarly intellectual work, and that's not me." So I wrote him back. So I haven't heard from. I wrote him back and I said, if that can be done, I assume that's my job. But I don't, I just want stories from people.
There's a couple other people you might want to talk to that I could suggest.
Who's that?
How you get hold of them, I don't know.
That's fine. Who are they?
Doug Green, who's Ranger Doug in Riders in the Sky.
Right.
Well, of course, he's Rounder. Ken could get you his number.
Yeah.
I just don't happen to have his current number because he's an old friend and a good friend. I just don't have, since he's become a star now, I don't have a current address on him.
Right.
Doug was one of our writers and reviewers, if I'm not mistaken, at Pickin' in the early days.
Oh, okay.
He's a writer by profession. Very, very educated, very literate, and is not, Ranger Doug when you talk to him. Just
right.
to talk as Doug,
Yeah, okay.
It's so funny when he calls up. bring your dog. I'm like, Doug, it's you. It's me, you know? But he's someone you might want to talk to because he was the, not the director. What was his title? He was a big mucky-muck at the Country Music Foundation for the longest time, but had to do with all of their writings and stuff. And
Okay.
maybe archivist? What the hell was his title? I don't remember what his title was, but that man is a walking encyclopedia.
Oh,
He
interesting.
knows everything.
Okay.
And he could probably give you lots of good perspective. Plus, he's a rounder artist,
Right.
or at least he is now.
Mm-hmm.
And another one, and I'm not so sure how to get hold of him. Do I have an address? Roger Siminoff, who was one of the owners of Pickin'.
Right. And how do you spell that?
Siminoff as in Frank.
Uh-huh.
Now, let me just see. He works, or at least about 2 years ago, which was my last contact with him, for, why am I blanking on it? What's the big computer thing in Silicon Valley?
Apple?
Huh?
Apple?
No.
Hewlett Packard. I don't know. There's lots of them. The big
Not
computer.
computer, but the chip end of it.
Oh, I know. Okay. Yeah.
Not Intel. Is there Silicon.com or?
I'm trying to think. I know some of these, but it's not my bailiwick. Silicon Graphics.
That's it.
Okay.
I think that's where he worked, but I haven't got a clue how to get him there.
Okay.
I had an old.
Is he an engineer?
I don't know what he is.
Oh, okay.
I have no clue because this man was building mandolins and running Pickin' magazine.
Right.
Let's see if I have an address here or anything.
Call the switchboard and ask for Roger Siminoff and
That's
see what you
I
get.
would do. I think they're based somewhere in the.
I know where they are. My wife would know where they are. No, there used to be a client of my wife's who works in that sphere.
Oh, okay.
In commercial media. So.
Yeah, because that's where he was working. I just don't know what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
But that is the company.
Yeah.
And he'd be a really good one, and I'm sure highly opinionated. He'd be a good one to talk to. And give him my regards if you find him.
Okay.
But if you need more, just yell.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to, and I may kind of as I don't know, find things, find people or want to track down people.
Well, you might also, like you said, I know you've already gone to some folklorists, but certainly, don't overlook some others that, some other folklorists. I don't know how many you've gone to. I don't know if my boss is an expert at it, but he is an American Studies professor,
mm-hmm.
and this is what he does.
Right.
So he may be able to put you in touch with others who are more appropriate, specific to Rounder.
Right.
Because he has been around longer than I have.
Yeah. Do you know Joe Wilson at all?
Yeah.
See, I wrote a lengthy email to Joe, and he's ignored it.
He doesn't respond to emails. You probably have to call him.
Oh, really? Okay.
I never got answers from him either.
I see. Okay. Well, actually, I've got a pretty close contact here in Austin who gave me his email address, but who knows him pretty well. And he said to me the other day that maybe he'd call the office for me. But if I know specifically, he's not going to respond.
Go the phone route with Joe.
Okay.
I don't know him so well, but
mm-hmm.
I do know him well enough to know go the phone route. He's a very nice guy too, and very knowledgeable. It was his show with Alison Krauss. That's how I got Alison into New York City.
Yeah.
It was the National Council for Traditional Arts.
Right.
The Masters of Folk Violin.
Okay.
Joe's a good person. I'm trying to think off the top of my head who else could be really good. Rounder. Let's see. Have you talked to many artists?
No, I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna get started. I kind of wanted to work around them first, and then come in at that end later on. I'm really curious about some people I've indicated who think Ken has tried to shape them in a way they haven't wanted to be shaped.
I can see that. I can see that. Yep. I'm just trying to think. I mean, there are definitely camps of people who think Rounder has screwed them, and I know that.
Yeah.
There are people who won't go to Rounder.
Yeah.
But then it's business.
Sure.
And Ken has a right to run his business the way he does.
I'm trying to take the perspective that after 30 years, I don't want to write a business history of the label because that's boring, and I'm more interested in the records they've put out,
mm-hmm.
and how that sort of played off these traditional and commercial issues.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm worried about getting fascinated with one particular squabble and then saying to myself, well, how do I put it in context? They've had people who've worked with them since the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I really don't want to get drawn into royalty disputes, or I didn't like Candace or that. But I am interested.
Aware of it as you go about what you're doing.
Of course.
Okay.
But if you start focusing on these things, where do you stop?
Exactly.
And I was a commercial litigator, and I know that these things, the truth of these stories, can be very elusive.
Exactly. I know. I mean, after managing Bethany for 10 years, believe me, I know all the different things that can go on because I managed every aspect
Right.
of it. Oh,
But I'm definitely interested though when I read, for example, that somebody has said that they asked Ken to leave the recording session, because of his attempts to influence the music in a more radio-ready way. Now that's interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's an issue that speaks to the heart of what I'm writing about. So I'll pursue that.
Yeah.
But I don't really want to know if you felt they.
Yeah, screwed you or what have you.
Yeah.
No, it's not really relevant in that light. You just have to know that you're getting some both objective and subjective opinions where you need it.
Sure.
Or facts as well as opinions, I should say.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to sort it out, and I know that, believe me.
Right. Well, thank you.
You're quite welcome.
All right, then I'll see you in Cleveland.
Yeah, I'll have a table there, so look me up.
Okay. All right.
And, good talking with you, Michael. Good
Thanks
luck.
a lot, Stephanie. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.